Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Welcome to Lime Rock Park, home for round 5 of the Miles Cup and Parnelli Cup championships of the Ford Mustang Cup North America 2025 season. It's a beautiful weekend for racing in the northeastern region of the U.S. The fall colors are just starting to show, but more importantly, we've got some big, hungry V8s ready to hit the racetrack. Thank you for joining us today on the Ford Racing YouTube channel and Flow Racing. I'm Joey Atterbury calling all of the action both today and tomorrow. The drivers have already ran through 2 rounds of practice as well as a qualifying session. So let's take a look at exactly where we are located at this facility that the drivers are racing at here in Lakeville, Connecticut. Known as the Bull Ring, Lime Rock Park is a short facility in almost all right-hand turn circuit with minimal passing opportunities. The long front straight and drive down into turn number 1 is the best brake zone to be aggressive on overtaking there into Big Bend. And you see you can defend going into turn number 3, the left-hander, the only real left-hander that we've got here on the circuit. And looks like we've got the cars formed up on our second formation lap. Can go through the grid real fast here. Will Lucas is our pole sitter, 56.0 with Craig Capaldi on the outside. And we've got a green flag. You see Will Lucas right there jump out front. Craig Capaldi in that white number 68, followed along with Nick Smither on the inside. That's that white, red, and blue car. Then also got Chase Cochran in that bright green machine, Cale Buell in the white car, and Andrew Hordes in that purple machine, rounding up our 6-car entry field as we bend down into the left-hander for the very first time. As we've seen all season long, Will Lucas is already trying to run away with the race as early as he possibly can. That is that dark blue number 34, already starting to stretch it out over the rest of these cars. And here in the Mustang Cup, we are not using that chicane. We're using the uphill, and look at the run there from Nick Smither. That is a terrific run going up and into what is one of the final corners here on the uphill section of Lime Rock Park. Looks like he is actually going to take away second place there from Craig Capaldi. So the change up at the front, Craig Capaldi started up front, but now he is slotted back into what is second place. That is Nick Smither. Craig Capaldi going right back into turn number 1. I mentioned how aggressive you can be onto the brakes going into turn number 1. It is definitely the best passing opportunity that these drivers have to make one of those shots to try to make an overtake here at Lime Rock Park. Well, we can finally catch our breath here a little bit. Craig is trying to take away what was second place and is actually now a little bit on the back foot there. That's Chase Cochran in the number 4 car. That's that bright green machine. So maybe Craig Capaldi just struggling a little bit with tire temperature warm-up over here. Remember, he is your Dark Horse Legends points leader out there. Has won a ton of races in that Legends class. But right now, that Legends leader is Nick Smither right out front. And he is starting to try to stretch it out just that little bit over Craig Capaldi. Start another lap out here. This will be lap number 3 for everybody. Will Lucas definitely still dominating out front. Going to get you some lap times here in just a minute. Don't worry about everybody running a little bit wide out there. at the exit of what is turn number 1 and 2, but you have to worry about that. That's a little bit too wide from Craig Capaldi and the left-hander. Let's see if he's able to get back on the racing line. That's Chase Cochran trying to get around. He looked around to the outside, but Craig Capaldi was thankfully able to gather it back up and get the momentum, but it just seems like maybe a little bit on the back foot here for this white number 14 car. You don't usually see that out of Craig. So I wonder if he's just a little bit rattled maybe from the opening lap out there and just trying to gather it all back up. Last lap from our leader, a 57.0. It's extremely impressive from Will Lucas. Given chase is this group: Nick Smither, Craig Capaldi, Chase Cochran, Cale Buell, Andrew Hordes. They're all lined up here going through Big Bend. This is Nick Smither in the 58, leading them through what is the left-hander here at Lime Rock Park. Can't even really see Will Lucas anymore. That's how far out in front he is. And got to remember all of the different types of facilities that these drivers have driven on so far. When we talk about Lime Rock Park, it's probably the smallest facility all 2025 season. So it's a little bit more of call it a technical facility. I did mention it's called the Bull Ring, and it is called the Bull Ring for a reason. Usually the elbows do come out here in order to get some passing done, but these drivers have stayed so respectful all year long. I expect to see some really, really good racing and just kind of build up everything that's going on out here. You know, it is that 40-minute race plus 1 lap. Done about 5 minutes so far, working lap number 4 right now on timing and scoring. So these drivers will run that clock all the way down until it hits 0. Then once it hits 0, we'll have that 1 lap remaining. Typically in other forms of racing, you know, you kind of time it so the 0 is the checkered flag, but not here. We wait until we reach that 0 time, and then we go 1 lap before the checkered flag. Makes the math nice and easy. Tell you what, Nick Smither is doing a terrific job right now. Just kind of hanging on. The lap times were actually a little bit faster that last time around. Previously was doing lap times in the 1 minute range. Last time was a 59.3. We'll see what it is this time as they come down across the start finish line. And an even faster lap, actually purple for the Dark Horse Legends class out of Nick Smither, a 58.8. Now I'm going to cross-reference that over to our qualifying times. Nick Smither did a 57.8. And now when we talk about the car and qualifying, it typically is very, very light on fuel, minimal weight out there, got the best tires possible to go as fast as you possibly can. So to see these lap times within 1 second of where they had qualified at, extremely impressive. And you also see kind of out in the northeastern part of the U.S. right now, you know, it's just past 5 p.m. The shadows are actually getting pretty heavy here on this racetrack. Sun kind of getting low. So the drivers are going to have to deal with the sun kind of getting into their eyes, going into the uphill section. You see it's kind of in the rear view mirror here, going down the downhill onto the front straightaway here. And I think where they're really going to fight with the sun is probably at the exit of what is turn number 2 at the end of Big Bend. And then also probably heading into the uphill, which is one of the more challenging corners that we've got here at Lime Rock Park. This battle that we got our eyes on is Chase Cochran. This is both Dark Horse class cars. That bright green car was Chase Cochran, the number 4 car. And that was Cale Buell just behind in the white car with the bright green highlights. Important to note also, Mustang Cup, you know, the ladder for Ford is starting here at the Mustang Cup with these beautiful Dark Horse R race cars, V8 Mustang race cars, H pattern cars, does have ABS. So that way the drivers, you know, they can stomp on the pedal out there, but you do have to do all of that shifting, use all 3 pedals to get around this racetrack inside of this race car. And then you can also take this up to Mustang Challenge. So not only in Mustang Cup can you come and race here, but you can also go and race this exact same car over in Mustang Challenge. I also saw that Mustang Challenge is going to be hitting Australia in 2026. And of course, in 2025, Mustang Challenge also had the Le Mans Invitational event. Reason why I mentioned that is because both of our two front runners, Will Lucas and Nick Smither, both headed over to France a little bit earlier this year. Both did a terrific job over at Le Mans, got that invitational under their belt, and did a terrific job representing the 2025 Mustang Cup paddock over at that Le Mans event for the Mustang Challenge. It was pretty cool to see there, and they've definitely transferred some of that high-speed knowledge back over here stateside. Will Lucas now continuing his lead out front, 17.5 seconds over Nick Smither and company. Craig Capaldi still giving chase. And this battle that we're watching here is Chase Cochran versus Cale Buell. Now, Cale Buell has been doing a terrific job. Same thing with Chase Cochran here in this 2025 season. Both of them really using this opportunity to learn about their racecraft. See how you can make it out there as a racing car driver. What does it take to go out there to make these passes, learn these racetracks? And got to remember, since this is kind of the entry level on the Mustang totem pole, if you will, a lot of these drivers have not been to some of these facilities before, such as New Orleans Motorsports Park that we went to a little bit earlier. Cale Buell resides down in Texas. We got round 2 down there at COTA at Circuit of the Americas. Was awesome to see him and his family out there. Brought a bunch of guests as well. This might be a pass down into turn number 1. Craig Capaldi thought about it on Nick Smithers, certainly presented the car, but Nick Smithers shut the door down in what is turn number 1. Was talking just a little bit about the schedule, some of the drivers, and COTA back there in May. It was a hot one, definitely a hot one. Will Lucas dominated that one again. Craig Capaldi won the Dark Horse Legends class, but it was great to see Cale Buell and family and representation over there. Got a few of the SEMA cars coming out there. That was really neat to see. And then after COTA, we went over to Ozarks International Raceway. That was pretty much a new one for everybody out there, a massive 4+ mile facility, and got to really see these Mustangs wind through the Missouri countryside over there. And then after Ozarks, headed up to Road America. Was a little bit of a wet round in Wisconsin, but good to see these cars doing, what was 150+ miles an hour on those monster straights up at Road America. And then we find ourselves for round 5 here at Lime Rock Park, and the pressure is being put on for second place overall, but more importantly, this is the Dark Horse Legends lead. These are our 2 DHL cars, call them Nick Smither versus Craig Capaldi. And I'm going to set this up just a little bit here because Craig Capaldi did qualify second overall. He actually qualified in front of Nick Smither by about 0.6 of a second. I'm looking at the times, actually 0.7 of a second, almost 3/4 of a second. That white number 14 out-qualified Nick Smither, but Nick did a terrific job on that opening green flag, was able to wrestle away that class lead from Craig Capaldi, and has now been doing excellent, consistent laps out front. But it certainly seems like this white number 14 has galloped into its stride, and this is 3 laps in a row now. Craig has kind of poked the nose down into what is turn number 1 here at Lime Rock Park. I mentioned it's called the bull ring. Lots of times you got to get the elbows out, and we're seeing why. Craig probably felt like he was close enough to make the move for several laps down here into turn number 1. However, the front straightaway, sometimes not long enough. The brake zone into turn 1, sometimes not big enough. And so that passing opportunity, you have to be really, really aggressive, either that or pretty much right alongside your competitor in order to force that move down into turn number 1. And a little bit on the back foot this time, going on the uphill section for Craig. See about through the downhill. So much commitment, high-speed commitment through lots of these corners here at Lime Rock Park. You really got to be on top of everything in order to keep this big Mustang on the surface. Not only on the surface, but keep the momentum up. You see how wide Nick Smither really was in between turn number 1 and 2. because he was trying to carry as much speed as he possibly could going into what was turn number 1 out there. And then you can kind of let the car drift out wide just a little bit. And hopefully you get it slowed down, that front end bites. You can make that second apex of Big Bend, turn number 2. This 4-pack of cars has pretty much stayed nose to tail. There's a little bit of a separation between Craig and Chase, that white car and that green car, for call it about a handful of laps, right? And then as soon as Craig kind of started to attack the back end of Nick Smither once again, they all just kind of accordion affected back up. Here's that run once again, and you see just as soon as Craig Capaldi really starts to make the momentum in the draft on that front straightaway, all of a sudden that brake marker comes right up and they got to slow the car down. And I think that's an interesting look right there down into what is turn number 3, the left-hander. So we've been seeing lap after lap after lap. Craig Capaldi really runs out wide in turn number 2 on the exit. And he keeps the car on the left-hand side. Why? Because it's a left-hander coming up and there's not really a straightaway after that left-hander. Nick Smither, the leader of the class, is kind of bringing the car more back to the middle of the racetrack to set up for that left-hander. What Nick has to be careful of is that if Capaldi gets a run through turn number 2 and is right on the bumper, and if Nick Smither moves back to the middle of the racetrack and Craig Capaldi stays on the left side, it could present an opportunity for Craig to potentially make it side by side into the left-hander. This is just a game of deja vu down in turn number 1. This is what it is so difficult about Lime Rock Park to make those passes. Here's that alternate line once again. You see Smither right in the middle of the racetrack, and Craig definitely on the left side, swung it out driver's right to try to get that nice arc through the left-hander through turn number 3 this time. Doesn't really pay off. And down on this section of the racetrack, I actually think that Nick is just nailing this uphand or this uphill corner here. Turn number 5, and once again, Craig just maybe a little bit on the back foot. What I'd really be curious about is if they're using the same gear through that corner, or if maybe it's a slightly different gear. This time it was Nick Smither through West Bend, turn number 6, that was a little bit on the back foot. And look at these cars, 1, 2, 3, 4, down the front straightaway at Lime Rock Park. If anything, Chase Cochran is now the one taking a look down the inside of Craig Capaldi. Craig left the door open. Look at how wide he is in between 1 and 2, but is able to stay ahead of that green number 14. Go through turn number 4 and head over to the uphill. I'd mentioned that this uphill corner is one of the more challenging corners here at Lime Rock Park. You really have to drive the car hard into that uphill, into that compression, and trust that the physics, the vehicle dynamics are going to do its thing and grip up the front end and really pull the car through the corner. And then up at the top, it gets crazy light. And if you're there on site, you can always go over, see if these cars are making any wheelies over there in the uphill. Ooh, tremendous run down here to turn number 1, almost to the bumper, almost bumper to bumper contact, and now Craig Capaldi's got an axle to the inside. Nick Smither squirts ahead of acceleration in between 1 and 2 and hangs on to that Legends class lead. Bend it through this, call it no-name straightaway back here. This is a very interesting, call it seesaw battle that we've been watching here. And just to let everybody know, Will Lucas has not gotten lost out there. He is still our leader. He is approximately 35 seconds in front of this group that we've been watching right now. And he is turning extremely consistent lap times. 57s, 57.2 was that last time by. Compare that to this group that we've been watching that's turning very, very consistent. 59s out here, 59.2 out of Nick Smither that last time. Oh, a little bit wide that time once again. An alternate look. So that's 2 laps in a row that we've seen a slightly different look from that second car in line, Craig Capaldi. Nick Smithers really been charging it into the first apex, which forces him to run wide in between 1 and 2. What Craig Capaldi I saw is trying to do now is try to fit the car to the inside in between turns 1 and 2. See if he can prevent Nick Smither from really bringing the car back down to that second apex, because he'll already be there. It's a different look from what we saw him trying to charge into the brake zone, call it the first quarter of this race, to try to get that pass done. And as we saw on the backside of the racetrack this lap, it was actually Cale Buell starting to put in a little bit pressure on that green number 4 car. See if we see an identical move here this time. See if Craig tries to slice it to the inside. Not quite close enough this time. Either not close enough, or Smither out front just did a really nice job of carrying the momentum through the middle set of that corner right there to kind of keep Craig Capaldi at that stiff arm distance. See him now start to separate just a little bit from Chase Cochran and Cale Buell. That other 2-pack of cars that we were just watching that was part of this 4-pack has now just dropped back, we'll call it about 5 car lengths, maybe 7 car lengths from Smither and Capaldi. See about the run down the hill through Lime Rock Park here. I mentioned the challenges of the uphill. Well, the downhill is equally as important, and I would say it is more important, because you have to nail the run down the hill in order to get the acceleration phase through the front straightaway, which potentially leads you into this brake zone of what is turn number 1. Oh, big wiggle there from Nick Smither, putting the power down coming out of turn number 2. Got to remember, these Mustang Dark Horse Rs have 500 plus horsepower. Hit the apex curb right there of what was turn number 4. Had another big wiggle, chased the car all the way to the outside of the racetrack. Craig Capaldi is licking his chops right now, saying, yes, please, I'm loving all of these mistakes right now. I just maybe need a little bit of a mistake through this next corner, this downhill. Look at how close Craig is. Presenting the car to the inside. Usually you don't see a pass down the inside, but if you can put him on the back foot, this might be the run that he's looking for down the front straightaway. Look at them all lined up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Watch that green car. He's going to be going to the inside. Craig Capaldi going to force the issue on the outside. Almost contact between the two. And now both Nick Smither and Craig Capaldi are off in the grass. Turn number 1, Big Ben striking for our Dark Horse Legends drivers. Nick Smither, who had done such a terrific job to hold on to that class lead, took it as deep as he possibly could into turn number 1. Both him and Craig ended up off of the racetrack, unfortunately, but neither one of them got to the tire wall. We're just going to have to see them both bring their car back around, make sure there's no damage on those machines, and then they can continue on running. Well, as that unfolded, Will Lucas out front, still turning his consistent self, 57.6. And now this promotes Chase Cochran and Cale Buell to the outright podium here. They were already in second and third in that Dark Horse class, but now they are second and third overall. Oh, a little bit of an over-under coming out of turn number 2. Cale Buell starting to put the pressure on, and he has got 18 and a half minutes plus another lap out here to really focus on that bright green number 4 car. See if he can find a way by. And got to remember is that the dynamic has changed just a touch, because they used to have those 2 cars out in front of them. I'm talking about Craig and Nick, right? Because they were battling just in front of Chase and Cale out there. And so they kind of had a pace reference to kind of follow out there, a carrot in front of the horse, if you will. And now this green number 4 car has got a completely clear windshield. He can kind of drive wherever he wants to on the racetrack. So the racing line might alter a little bit. He might pick up a little bit of speed through some corners that he felt like he was getting held up in before. And ultimately the pace is going to be down to himself and what he can continue. I did see Craig Capaldi there. That is the third car in line, so that's the white number 14. That is good to see that he's back out there on the racetrack and already catching up to those two cars that he had lost that position to. I do see that Nick Smither is still chugging along out there as well. His last lap time a little bit slower than what he was turning before, but I think he's probably just feeling out that car, making sure it's all good. And I actually think I see that our overall leader, Will Lucas, has just managed to get by Nick Smither on the far side of the racetrack. Watching Chase Cochran go through what is Big Bend out here at Lime Rock Park. It's a long double apex right-hander. But you got to make sure to get right, otherwise, as we saw from our Legends class leaders, you can definitely skate off the racetrack, lose a ton of track position. We are over halfway through this race. Look at the timing and scoring ticker on the top left. 16.5 minutes plus 1 lap. That's what these drivers still have to navigate here at Lime Rock Park. I think the pace that Will Lucas is actually doing right now, everybody's going to be doing 1 lap less than what Will Lucas is going to be doing out there. He's just an absolute torrential pace. This is Andrew Horns on the front straightaway. He simply saw this group approaching in the rearview mirror, pulled off drivers left and let them by. And you know what? My mistake. I thought that Will Lucas had gotten by Nick Smither a couple laps ago, but no, this is the shot right here. Nick Smither sees our overall leader, Will Lucas, in that multicolored number 34 car, lets him down to the inside in turn number 1, and is now going to follow in the tire tracks of this Robert Noacker racing machine of Will Lucas out there. Just done a terrific job. The entire 2025 Mustang Cup North America schedule. Has qualified on pole every single chance that he has gotten. Has led every single lap that he has had the opportunity to be behind the wheel of a Mustang Cup race car. Has collected all of those first place victories as well. Really has been a 2025 to remember for Will Lucas. He's just got 15 more minutes here in this Miles Cup race to start off the Lime Rock Park weekend of racing. Then, of course, have the Parnelli Cup race coming to you tomorrow afternoon. As well, have that one covered right here on the Ford Racing Channel, as well as Flow Racing, just like how we've got the Miles Cup race coming at you right now. About 15 minutes plus 1 lap remaining out here at Lime Rock Park. Really liked that switchback shot, that almost static shot that we had in between turn number 3 and 4 there. Oh, that's pretty wide there. That's a mistake from Chase Cochran through West Bend. That opened the door for Cale Buell. Slips down the inside. Let's see if he can put the power down on the front straightaway. This is the back half of the pass that you need to secure. Chase Cochran already got the run down the front straightaway. He looks to the inside, out brakes Cale Buell down into Big Bend and takes the position immediately back. So that was a mistake up there in West Bend, turn number 6 from Chase Cochran. Now fight back to the inside from Cale Buell and the left-hander. Definitely got the car to the inside, room given from Chase, but just an awesome duel between these drivers that's been going on for 26 laps already, and it was great to see that Cale got that nose in front of the green number 4. I think there was just a little bit of a slip up through, call it this next corner, this corner right here, this previous lap. That green car just kind of drifted out wide from the apex that little bit. Cale Buell saw it through his windshield, pounced immediately. But then very impressive that Chase Cochran had an answer on the front straightaway. Huge out-braking maneuver down into turn number 1. Was great to see that fight, and then Cale didn't give up. It was through this corner right here, this previous lap, that he once again said, hey, if you're going to leave the door open on the inside, I'll go ahead and put it down the inside of this left-hander. And room being given between the two cars. It's great to see that. You always want to have room on the playground, right? Everybody comes out here to play at the same playground. You don't want to be shoved off the swing set or the slide, and that's exactly what we saw out here, is that everybody was playing together. We're still out there racing. I'm actually pretty surprised that Craig Capaldi has not closed it in more to these two that are battling. I would have thought that Craig's pace, his outright pace, would have brought him right up to the back bumper of these two a little bit quicker than what he has. Watch these two once again dive it off down into turn number one. Oh, that was a little bit of a surprising move. I did not expect to see that out of Cale Buell there. Cale was pretty late on the brakes going into turn number one. Definitely put Chase under threat into that brake zone. Probably covered off a little bit late, but that was an interesting one. I didn't think that he was quite close enough going into that brake zone, but evidently he did have that performance underneath that number 8 Mustang to really stomp on that brake pedal. Use these Dark Horse R brakes really to halt this car down into turn number one and get that thing slowed down to the apex. And, you know, I was just mentioning Craig Capaldi. He was closing it in, but once again, in the uphill, I wonder if he's using a different gear than the other cars, because it always seems like he's a little bit on the back foot. And talking about being on the back foot, Chase Cochran right in the middle of the racetrack. So that is a defensive posture going down into turn number one. Left the door a little bit open in the middle of the corner. You saw Cale Buell try to get the nose up alongside, but not quite close enough to get that racing move done. And you know, I mentioned that Craig was on the back foot just a handful of corners ago. It's kind of like first half versus the second half of the racetrack. Seems like Craig is really, really good in the first half of the racetrack, and then you get to this corner right here, the rest of the cars are kind of outperforming that white number 14, and then you get down into this downhill section, all of a sudden Craig is just absolutely killing it once again. And this fourth car in line that we're going to see in our camera shots here shortly, he's about 2.5, maybe 3 seconds behind Craig Capaldi. That is our overall leader, Will Lucas. And in fact, I got a cool shot of him last time going through this next set of corners here, this turn 3 and 4. He was wagging the tail of this thing, laying some treads in this little left-right section. See if he does the same thing. Looks like he's got it a little bit more in control this lap. Maybe was just laying down those cool number 11s through that left-hander that last time by. But definitely closing in on this group, and will be interesting because these cars will get a blue flag to say, hey, you know, the overall leader is coming through, but we've got under 10 minutes remaining. Does Will Lucas decide to push the issue and try to pass these cars and try to lap the field? I think that would be almost a nice badge of honor, right, to be able to say, yeah, you know, not only did I go out there and dominate the 2025 Mustang Cup season, but there was actually a round that I went out there and lapped everybody. But on the other side, there's a battle going on directly in front of you. You only got 9 minutes remaining. You could also do the very nice thing and say, hey, you know what, I'm just going to hang out right back here and you guys do your thing, and I'm just going to watch it almost like how we are watching the action unfold from these awesome shots here above Lime Rock Park. Look at the shadows. I'd mentioned kind of it's getting a little bit late in the day over there in the northeastern part of the U.S. The shadows, especially on this part of the racetrack, it was going through the trees when we first got to this race. Now it is completely shade throughout the majority of this facility. Even on the downhill section onto the front straightaway, all shade. Oh, here we go. Chase Cochran already defensive in the middle of the racetrack on the front straightaway. Can Cale Buell come up with something aggressive? No, not going to happen this time into turn number 1. You see only a half a car length in between that green number 4 and that white number 8 out there. And Cale is probably on the radio with his team, and know that the Capaldi Racing team, which campaigns both his car as well as Craig Capaldi's car, which is in that rearview mirror right there, is letting them know exactly how much time he got left in this race. I'm sure he knows that it's Craig Capaldi directly behind him, and actually the lap times that these drivers are turning right now are some of their best that they've been doing this entire race long. So maybe it's a little bit less fuel in the tank, maybe the cars are getting a little bit lighter, and all of a sudden those lap times are starting to drop out here. Could also be the little bit of the air temperature, that shade throughout the racetrack, making sure that these V8s are breathing very nicely. And this time Cale very wide going into turn number 1. Does he try to do an over-under here into turn number 2? Right on the bumper, Chase Cochran just laying down some treads coming out of turn number 2, trying to put all 500 plus horsepower of this Dark Horse R down to the pavement. And I think we've got our answer of what Will Lucas is doing. I think he is going to decide to hang out the rest of this race and pretty much just watch everybody fight in front of him. Now let's see, can Chase Cochran keep it clean for, I'm going to call it probably another 7 laps or so. These cars are turning, call it 58s out here. Got 6 minutes remaining on the clock, plus a lap. It might even be 8 laps, but, 6, 7, 8 laps, somewhere in that range is what it's going to take to close out this Miles Cup race, the first race of the weekend here at Lime Rock Park for the Mustang Cup North America 2025 championships. Like I said, tomorrow we do have the Parnelli Cup race as well, coming to you tomorrow afternoon. So make sure to tune in once again right here on the Ford Racing channel, as well as Flow Racing, to catch all of the action here from Lime Rock Park. Sun continuing to get lower on the horizon here in Connecticut. It's pretty much going to be sunset here in, call it about another half hour or so, maybe just more, maybe about 45 minutes, but just the way this racetrack is settled into the countryside up here. Oh, that's a mistake out of Chase Cochran in turns 1 and 2. Just way too fast. That opens up the door for Cale Buell. A self-mistake out of the green number 4. It is coming unraveled with 5 minutes remaining. We did not see that coming. I thought it was going to be the pressure from Cale Buell, but it was just a slight over-driving of the corner into turn number 1, put that green number 4 out into the grass, and he loses second place overall, and that was a huge wiggle on the uphill. Had to save the car there as well, so Chase Cochran did a terrific job for, call it, the first 35 minutes of this race, and one small mistake has now put him back into 3rd place. We're going to see if he's got an answer for Cale, or if Cale can go back out there right now and just turn consistent laps to hang on to that 2nd place. This is Will Lucas. He is actually our caboose on this 4-car train, now that it's separated out a little bit, and he is just hanging out. He's just chilling like a villain, if you want to say that. 59.4, I think, his fastest time. Let me go back over here. Best time, 57.0. So right now, Will Lucas is in cruise control. He is just hanging out right now. He is not trying to put his car into any situations that are unnecessary, right? If he tries to go up there and pass Craig Capaldi. Now, Craig is an extremely smart driver. Like I said, he has won the Legends class pretty much every single time he has shown up. So I would assume that if Will Lucas does decide to put the hammer down and does decide to pass everybody in front of him, yes, Craig will be aware. But what if, right? It's always what if. What if you decide to put the nose down into turn number 1 and Craig doesn't see and contact happens, and all of a sudden bad things happen late in the race when you don't need them to happen. So I think what Will Lucas is just doing, he's just hanging out right now. He is not trying to put his car into any unnecessary situations. Just under 2 minutes remaining here in our first race. Is still Will Lucas on screen. Craig Capaldi is that white car with the black roof. That's the number 14. He is currently our leader in that Dark Horse Legends class. And just to kind of give everybody a quick rundown of exactly how this all unfolded, is that Will Lucas was our pole sitter in that Dark Horse class. Got an initial start that was just blazing, jumped down into turn number 1, and threw up the deuces ever since, and is now pretty much going to lap the field. Craig Capaldi was our pole sitter in the Legends class. He started on the outside of row number 1, and here at Lime Rock Park, that can be a disadvantage. I think that he did get a good start. However, Nick Smither got a better start and really wrestled him down into turn number 1, wrestled away that Legends class lead, and then it was a duel between Nick Smither versus Craig Capaldi for that Legends class and that second place overall. And then that erupted down into turn number 1 with Craig Capaldi making an aggressive outside braking maneuver. Nick Smither trying to take it as deep as possible. They both went off into the grass, but Craig Capaldi was able to recover a little bit quicker than Nick Smither out there. And then, so he still leads that Legends class. And then we had that terrific fight between Chase Cochran and Cale Buell for the back half of this race, and we saw Cale and Chase go at it with some over-unders. They were dueling back and forth with second place for, 10, 15 laps or so. And then ultimately, it was a little bit of a mistake out of that green number 4, which allowed Cale through into turns number 1 and 2. It certainly seems like Big Bend, the brake zone into turn number 1, the action spot today. This is Andrew Hordes in that purple machine. He's going to stay left, let all of these faster class cars through. He is currently running in 4th in that Dark Horse class. And you know what? While we're kind of winding down the time here, just give a shout out to that purple number 23. He's done a terrific job this year. He's really been using the Mustang Cup to launch in his professional racing career. Been doing a lot of sim racing as Andrew Horde. So really cool to see him use that transfer of information, while Will Lucas gets a run down the front straightaway and on the brakes nice and early going down into turn number 1. You see the timer. Next time by, we're going to be getting that white flag, 1 lap to go. And it looks like he is going to make everybody in front of him do that extra lap rather than let them come in a little bit earlier. Got the lights on with these Dark Horse R race cars. Looking mean, sounding mean here in the northeastern part of the U.S. at Lime Rock Park. A great race to open up this weekend so far here. Miles Cup race been dominated by both Will Lucas in this Dark Horse class as well as Craig Capaldi in the Dark Horse Legends class. Through the downhill, Will Lucas is going to look up at that start-finish stand. We're going to have 1 lap remaining at Lime Rock Park. There's the white flag from our starter. Will Lucas has just got to make it around simply a handful of more corners out here. About 7 more turns, call it 6 more turns now that you're through turn number 2. He will collect yet another trophy and another checkered flag. Craig was a little bit inviting there to the inside line of the left-hander. I think everybody is on the same page here, though, that we want to get to the checkered flag. So a day dominated by Will Lucas. Practice number 2 was on top of the sheets. Qualifying was on top of the sheets. A 56.0 was what it took to lead this flag to, or lead this field to the green flag. Now he lifts going down the downhill section, lets everybody run away. He sees the checkered flag from start finish. Winner, winner, chicken dinner for the number 34 car. And now the rest of these cars here, they're going through the infield section. Remember, it was Will Lucas pretty much right on the back of those cars right there. So Now just waiting for Cale Buell. He should be coming through the uphill right about now. And remember, he did have a little bit of a lead on Chase Cochran. Remember, and looks like Nick Smither has also crossed the line as well. So Andrew Hord's going to finish in 4th. Nick Smither second in class in that Dark Horse Legends class. Now just waiting for Cale, Chase, and Craig to come through. I expect this white car, the number 8, to collect second place in the Dark Horse class. There goes Cale Buell. Chase Cochran rounding out the podium. And Craig Capaldi, your winner in the Dark Horse Legends class. Read through these results one more time out here for everybody. Will Lucas, your overall winner by nearly 1 minute out there. Cale Buell going to round out second place here in the Dark Horse class. And then Chase Cochran will be in 3rd place in that Dark Horse class. Andrew Hord's going to be in 4th in that Dark Horse class. And then the Dark Horse Legends class, it's going to be Craig Capaldi, your winner in that white and black number 14. And then Nick Smither, where you see there on the screen right there, going to finish in 2nd in that Dark Horse Legends class. Well, right now what is happening is all the cars are coming down from pre-grid, from pit lane down into the paddock section. We do still have our podium ceremonies yet to go here, so don't go anywhere. We've got to get all of the drivers out of their cars, make sure everybody's all A-OK over there, and we'll be right back with all of your podium celebrations.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
there through that entire 40 minutes. Yeah, just hit him. No. Nick and I go a long way back, so racing with Nick, you know, just trying to be friends with everybody, watching my Nick.
Right on, no remorse. What a race you guys are having. I mean, it was just a joy to watch. And tell me a little bit about what was going on when you went down into turn number 1. You guys were just so heavy on the gas.
Yeah, I saw Greg on the outside. I thought there's no way he's getting in here. And I just left the braking way too late. So yeah, it was a fun race. First 20 laps or so, we were backwards and forwards. It's just a good job Leo wasn't out there because I'd have blue paint all over my car.
Next time. How about a big round of applause for the podium and Dark Horse Legends. Gentlemen, trophies up. All right, gentlemen, well done. Thank you so much. Folks, we're going to get into...
Wait for the command.
Oh, yeah, champagne. My bad. I jumped the gun.
The hats first.
Hat change.
Hey, you guys is yeah, be careful. That doesn't get taken out, right?
You holding that? You hold. Hold everything.
All right. Let's get the show on the road.
I was telling him, I said, I don't give a fuck.
All right, gentlemen. Another big round of applause, and how about it's time to celebrate? Let's talk about how they're going to handle it. Well done. Our cameraman just... All right. Nice. So our USAC cameraman just soaks it right up. All right, folks. Now we're going to get into a very special award. This is the Yokohama Apex Award for the competitor passing the most cars out there on track. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. He was super fast again today. It's Will Lucas. All right, Will, without getting just in the race, let me just ask you this real simple. It's got to be such a joy bringing home an awesome award like this from Yokohama, the Apex Award. It means so much, a very coveted award in motorsports. Where's your mind at right now holding that beautiful trophy in your hand?
I'm happy. Yeah, I like it. It's just such a good day here. I love this track. I love this car combo. I mean, it was a good day. I'm happy.
Right on, folks. How about a big round of applause for your Apex Award winner?
Great job.
All right, now we're going to get into our Dark Horse podium. In the third spot, car number 4, it's Chase Cochran. Shane Williams accepting for Chase. In second spot, the car number 8, it's Cal Buell. And up on top of the box one more time, in first place, the number 34 of Will Lucas. All right, Will. So now I'll talk a little bit more about the race. Tell me just where you were as far as you went out there. You set a vicious pace. You really did. And right off the bat, were you concerned about getting into lap cars? And then when you started to, where was your head at?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's something unique to this track, just with the fast lap and the short length. I mean, I figured I would run into people, and I didn't know how to play it right, because at that point you have way more to lose in the game. So you kind of just have to play with, is it worth it? And I ended up having an awesome view of the battle at the end, so it worked out for me.
And then towards the end of the race, you caught the pack again. And I was up in the air when we were doing commentaries. Are you going to continue to push at your pace that you're at, or just try to be calm? Because it's got to, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's got to change your braking points. It's going to change the way the car reacts at different times. Was it your decision or a team decision to kind of just say, let's settle in?
It was a little bit of both. I mean, I saw the battle at the front, and as a racer, I mean, I've been in that position where I'm fighting, and then it kind of gets blown out of proportion by either somebody we catch or somebody behind me. And You know, it kind of sucks to ruin somebody's day. So like I was saying, there was way more to lose there. So yeah, I was just happy where I was, and that's where I stayed.
Well done. You couldn't have done a better job, man. Well done. Very impressive. And for you, there was never really time to take a breath. The whole time out there, 40 minutes plus one, man, you were elbows up and just getting it after it. You had to have a wonderful time.
That was definitely the battle of my life, up to date for sure. I was nothing but pushing and pounding for all 40 plus one laps, and I was just so grateful to be able to be at this track with everyone and push hard. And I really like to dedicate this to my fiance, who unfortunately couldn't make it here today because she got sick, but she's helped push me, and I'd like to dedicate Capaldi and my dad and Leaf Johnson Ford just for allowing me to have this foundation that I can use and grow my career as a motorsport driver.
And you're good on the mic too, man. Congratulations, well done. Right on, folks. And as far as for the team goes, you guys gotta be happy to be up here on the podium as a whole group, man. It's not just a one-man team, it's all of you together.
Yeah, no, and Chase did a great job, and obviously him and Todd just battled hard, and he had to also replace the transmission today, so he had a lot of work, so he did a great job, and he'll be good tomorrow. So,
congratulations, guys. Thank you. All right, everyone, how about a big round of applause for your podium finishers? Trophies up. And switch the hats, please. And trophies back up. Right at the cameras, big smile. And it's time to party, folks. And spray the champagne. There we go. And folks, that's just the beginning of the party. Make sure all of you, crew and everyone, come on in and join us in the party here at a Mustang Cup hospitality area. That starts right now. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow as you go racing one more time here from Rock Park.